Okay, my next guest. You all know my first guest. He's a very talented and funny gentleman, one of the original cast members of the old Saturday Night Live. Since then, he has starred in movies like The Blues Brothers and Ghostbusters. And he's got a new movie out, opens tomorrow around the country, Dragnet. Would you welcome Dan Aykroyd?
Whenever I do this show, I want to come out after the prop bit.
Always follow props. You cannot lose when you do a prop
That's
bit.
true. That's true enough.
You've done those things on the show where the props
absolutely.
just sometimes don't take off.
Sure, I'll tell you, Bassomatic, that was one of the ones, you know.
I remember that. Didn't you once have a rat in that thing?
We had a bat, a rat, a bass, and, you know, some things grind better than others, you know.
How you doing?
Good, very good, very good.
So
very
Dragnet is tomorrow.
That's right, that's right. And
you like it?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You knew Jack Webb, didn't you?
I knew Jack very well. He was a dear friend, and he was on this show a number of times. In fact, one of the best sketches we ever did was with Jack Webb when we parodied his show, which was probably the most parodied show ever on television because it was so stylized and the rhythm of the voices and the underplay.
Mr. Bub.
Yes.
He always called him Mr. or Bub.
And he
Junior.
Yeah, and he was wonderful.
Yeah.
And well, of course, you were young when Dragnet was a big hit.
Well, I remember this.
It's still playing.
It still is playing, and of course, it was very big in the American culture. And I often think, you know, what would Jack Webb have thought of the movie we did? But I think anything that big, that huge, has got to be satirized. And you know, I think he knew that and realized that. And certainly Harry Morgan lent credibility to our project by being in it. And he said that Jack would have probably understood. But I can remember at 3 years old seeing the Jumper episode. There was a Jumper episode there where he talked a guy off a ledge, and it was even before the Ben Alexander stuff. But Dragnet
That's right. Ben Alexander was before Harry.
It was very big. I have a couple of things here just to show you. First of all, this is a classic. I'm into Jack Webb. No, not at all. I just have.
You got props. I hope your props go better than mine.
Yeah. This is the Chesterfield ad that he did. He did commercials for Chesterfield, and also this is the Time mag. This is one of my favorite, right here.
You do collect this memorabilia, don't you?
Here the Time magazine cover.
Jack was a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
Had one of the great voices. He was a radio actor.
He sure did. And kids were really into it. You know, this was what you could get back then in the 50s. You could buy a little kind of a badge.
Did you send away for this stuff?
I actually sent away. I lost mine. This is one that I found. And also at the police academy in Los Angeles, you can buy coasters. Badge coasters, and they have the 714 number on them, of course. I heard Jack did things like he gave away Cadillacs to technicians he liked, and you know, he had kind of an Elvis thing about Cadillacs.
He was. You're a sentimentalist, aren't you?
I really. At 3 years old, I started to watch the show, and you know, taking a role, people figure, well, you do it as a job and everything, and you know, it's like an assignment and everything. I'm going to let you in on something. I have been dreaming about doing this role for years and years and years.
That much influence when you saw the show?
Absolutely. I love all those old police shows. I mean, you know, Jack Webb is obviously, you know, the king of that genre, but remember Highway Patrol?
Rod Crawford.
10-4, 10-4, 10-4. Listen, man, you should get some black and white, something quick. A little bit quick. 10-4. 10-4, yeah.
Those are the early ones.
Yeah, and
those are the early ones.
Sure, and that movie that Broderick Crawford did, do you remember with Judy Holliday?
The whole tone of the movie like this, he's like this with the whole movie like this.
It was Bells Are Ringing.
Yeah, and Judy Holliday. Born Yesterday. Born Yesterday was in that, too. Yeah. And the other great television cop, of course, and I have to get up here and do the walk, is my friend and yours. Let me get over here. Bobby Stack, the Untouchables. The Rico Youngblood, bring the car on by the back. We'll see Mr. Nitty downtown.
Rico Youngblood.
Right in here all the time. Right in there all the time. Yeah.
We're going to get Frank Nitty in. He just went on like that.
Yeah, of course, the new Untouchables is, you know, quite different. But,
yeah, I heard it's a great picture
It is a really great picture. I really enjoyed it. I'd go back and see it again. The only thing was the Mounties were not well treated in there. Being a Canadian, my grandfather was a Royal Canadian Mounted Policeman.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Not the one that we talked about the last time.
Yeah.
But that lasted 6 seconds last time, remember? Yeah, he was an actual RCMP guy, and, you know, in the Untouchables, they didn't actually wear those tunics. They didn't ride cavalry style. But apart from that, it was a great movie. But only I noticed, me and the RCMP.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. You got a film clip of this tonight also?
Yeah, absolutely. A scene where I arrest somebody.
This is the film clip. We'll be right back. television. Okay, so we're going to see a little bit of Dragnet.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a scene where we go in and arrest one of the main villains in the story.
Right.
And a lot's happening in the news today. I mean, the monologues these days have been absolutely rich because you've got...
the way what they're doing back in Washington, all you have to do is just report on what's going on.
Yeah, and now North Carolina and all that. So it's funny, a little bit of Dragnet refers kind of to a Tammy Baker, Jim Baker type of thing. It's funny, we didn't project it that way. It just happens to be...
I think I knew Jack Webb well enough to say that Jack would find that very funny.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I really hope so.
He would, because he would find that flattering.
It was done, you know, in a spirit of affection. I watched about 25 of the old black and white shows and about 20 of the color ones. And
He's got his rhythm down nice, the voices, but it's that rhythm. It's that kind of...
Yeah, boy, he had a... And you know what, also, Johnny, what we tried to get, Alan Zweibel, who writes the Gary Shandling Show, Tom Mankiewicz, the screenwriter, you know.
Right.
We tried to get the writing that he did. He was a great writer. I mean, the Friday character is just like Mike Hammer, Philip Marlowe, Sam Spade. It's one of those great detective characters, and I think we nailed the writing. So some of the stuff in the opening voiceover of the movie, this is the city, Los Angeles, California.
I work here.
You know, all that stuff
he
was right from the show.
He innovated something else in television. It's kind of inside, but it was interesting because in a lot of those shows, they talked directly to the camera, as if the camera was the other actor.
Yeah.
And what Webb did, they were reading dialogue very often right off the teleprompter. So when he'd say, ma'am, he was looking right at it and he'd say, well, so-and-so reported here. And the actors were reading this dialogue, and they did it so well that that contact looked like we're talking to the audience.
And it sounded very real. And he'd call up an actor. He'd say, would you like to come down and play the room clerk this afternoon, you know? And the guy'd say, okay, when am I going to get there? Right now, you know? And he'd bring him in, and the guy'd learn his lines, and he'd say, no, take the script away. I want you reading it.
Right.
And he read all his speeches, his big speeches.
Yeah. How many years was Dragnet on?
I think from 49 till 57 or early 58, and then it came back in the 60s,
What other shows
70s.
did you grow up with?
Well, I owe my whole sort of, you know, understanding of this business and everything to, you know, Jackie Gleason, who died.
What a loss.
That was really, really
Jackie
bad.
passed away last night.
And Lucille Ball, of course. Desi Arnaz was also really, really great, you know.
Lucy.
Yeah, he really
They're still playing them every morning at 9 o'clock, and they're funny as now as they were 30 years ago.
Absolutely. You know, I wasn't so much into My Mother the Car, you know, not so much. Or, you know,
Exo-Man or some of those others.
Yeah.
Did you work with a lot of law enforcement people? You collect badges, I know. Is this...
No, I don't collect badges at all, John. I don't really, I'm not interested in that kind of stuff at all. No,
Look at this. Look at it. Now, are these legitimate?
I don't... Actually, yeah, you know, it's like Elvis Presley has one of the greatest collections at Graceland. And I've heard stories about, you know...
These are for real,
Yeah,
huh?
these are for real. Joliet Police here, and Long Beach Police Officers Association. I was made an honorary member there last night.
Now, if somebody stopped...
I'm thrilled about this stuff.
If somebody stopped you, would you...
Would I flash that? No,
one of
I'd
these
be stopping them, Johnny. That's what would be going on. And actually, you know, Elvis, apparently, a couple of times in Memphis, he had the full county police and all the ID and everything, you know, and he'd pull up and, you know, you just went through that red light there, brother. I want to tell you right now. I want to make sure you don't go through that red light. I'm going to give you a warning right now. I'm a piece of them you know, and it's one of the most impressive collections I've ever seen. This is a New Orleans police badge. That's a real one. This is the weirdest one I have here.
What is
because
this?
the guy painted it himself. It's a sheriff, Kenosha County, Wisconsin.
And he painted the badge.
Oh, yeah. Now, that guy there, you know he talked like that there, you know?
And
that's fun.
But it is fun. It's neat.
You're a collector.
John Landis gave me this. He took this off a policeman in Tijuana. I think he bartered for it.
What is this one here, the small one? Is that New
That's
York?
a little Captain New York City Police. Just you know, if you give $100 to the PBA, they hand out badges anywhere.
Yeah.
It's funny. New York State is like that. Everybody has ID or a badge or a sticker in the window. I'm blowing up the Taconic Parkway there in my car, coming off a long-distance trip. You know, maybe, well, doing close to 80 miles an hour. And a guy pulls up in front of me in a Buick T-Type, and he starts to race me. And he races me. And we're racing together, and he's going curves and everything, and really good driver, excellent driver. So I figure, hey, I'm going to pass this guy. So I pull out, and I pass him. The red light comes on, man.
It was an unmarked...
Well, I thought, wait a minute, this is New York State. Everybody puts red lights in their windows. Everybody does it sometimes. He pulls me over. Sure enough, Inspector, New York State Police, he says, why don't you drive like a human being? I said, I was following you, sir. But, I mean, he stopped me when I passed him. I mean, he stopped me because he knew I was beating him there.
And you beat the rap.
Yeah, no, he knew we were racing, and he let me off because he knew what it was. And it was like 2 in the morning. There was no other traffic. I wouldn't drive otherwise that way.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Yeah.